Hi everyone, you're very welcome to 1/6 Figure Focus, and you're welcome to another episode of Visions, where every single episode I sit down with a different member of the 1/6 scale collecting community in general and discuss the past, the present, and the future of their collecting journey. This next guy probably needs absolutely no introduction, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. He goes by many names: Zach, the AUXFATHER, or just kind of the brains behind the Collecting Weekly crew. I'm going to get some stick from that from Ben and from Marco, and eventually, hopefully, from John and from Dean for that. But this is Zach, the AUXFATHER from Collecting Weekly. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm all right. You're saying it's 1 p.m. there where you're based?
Yeah, it's been a good day. I follow like a bunch of different channels, so I've been seeing you live all day. So you've had a busy day of streaming. Love to see it.
Yeah. This 3 is a bit overkill for me now, but
I know that's a lot. Wow, good for you.
yeah, I just kind of I sat down. I had a few video ideas to make earlier on, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go and do the no loyalty stream where we kind of hunt for Star Wars figures, because I picked up a New Hope Obi-Wan Kenobi for $300 shipped, and I was like, it was just in my head,
Nice.
and I was like, all right, so. And I didn't really feel like cutting a video. I wanted to just go live on my own and just have a chat, So, yeah. But obviously, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate you making the time.
Yeah.
And I've been following Collecting Weekly for, I'd say, since 2020 now, I think.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and man, it's an appreciate you bringing the content. I really like it's the Tuesday nights with yourself and John and Dean and the nicest Canadian ever, and Marco as well. So Ben and Marco, just the opinions are usually diverse and different, and there seems to be good camaraderie, and you give each other shit as well, which I definitely enjoy watching.
Yeah. So no one's off limits. No one's off limits there.
Yeah. That's a sign of true friendship, I do believe.
I think you're right.
You get the banner. In the off chance that there's someone watching who isn't subscribed to Collecting Weekly or following at Collecting Weekly on Instagram, you're doing it wrong, but I doubt that any of the 20 people here are making that mistake. So I'm going to address the chat before we get started. Cool. Figurassic Park, can't stop now. Here we go again. Apologies for sending the link. It was like a Indiana Jones kind of roll under a door there about like 2
I was like, damn, we're both gonna be late, Dean and me, for different reasons. But
yeah. Well, in fairness, now, like I think if it wasn't for you, Dean mightn't have made his version. Like he was about 45 minutes late.
Oh boy, I was at work and my phone kept going off, but. I can't always be on most of the time I can be on my phone at work, but this particular day it was like a lot of stuff. And I was like, did someone die? Like, why is everyone blowing my phone up? And everyone's like, bro, call Dean, like get Dean now. And I'm like, what? I don't like, Dean doesn't really tell me what he's got going on sometimes. So I was very confused. And then I was like, oh my God, he's late. It's so embarrassing. And then like, I get it. Like you went live, you had things to talk about anyways. So I called them and he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was like, bro, like, don't apologize to me. Apologize to Shane. Bro. Like, I'm not the one that you need to be apologizing to right now.
I think he kind of came in and went, did anybody notice? I was like, I'm just going to get a beer, blend in.
Boy.
No, and I'm done giving him grief about that. Like, I actually had such a great time with Dean. I think he said something on the lines of like, I asked him a question about what would make you subscribe to a YouTube channel? Like, what would make you keep coming back? And he was like, if I could have a beer with the guy. And he kind of said, I saw he was like, yeah, I could have a beer with you. And I was like, I could totally have a beer with you, Dean. So we had we had a really good time. That's one of my favorite streams that I've done, actually. Just like chatting to someone I knew.
It's funny that he says that. He doesn't drink, and I've never had a beer with him. So
all right, well,
I've tried to get him to have a beer with me. So I'm a little bit offended, to be honest. I'm gonna have to give him a beer next time I see him and make him drink it.
It's a thing in Ireland. Like sometimes you'd be like, I'll watch your man, like, and it's like, would you have a beer with him? I don't know. It kind of is like a thing, but it's high price.
There we go.
So of course. Bearded Nerdy Oaf is here for another live stream. Cool. Thanks. Glad you're here to join in. We have JC as well. Let's do this. We Benjamin E. Green, Thalia Meyer. We have The Empire Strikes Again. Chuli from Texas. OG fan is in the building as well. Jambo. That's one of your phrases, I believe.
Yeah, Jambo, baby.
and extra crispy.
There we go.
I know some of them. Force choke the like early. Thanks very much, Judy. Damon Zapp is here. CBS Sci-Fi back again. Thanks very much for tuning in. And Trevor, 1-6 shooter, had Trevor here yesterday. Really, really nice guy.
Hey, love Trevor.
Thanks very much for tuning in. King Ding-a-ling.
Hey, there we go.
It's surreal. I remember like back in 2020, long before I had an Instagram or YouTube channel or anything, I used to watch streams and I used to see King Ding-a-ling pop up on PJ streams and stuff like that. And now he's here. It's definitely humbling and it's very much appreciated. Tremble Dust, Damon Zapp, and Superhero Displays. I'm going to throw you right into the deep end here. So, folks, we're going to go for about an hour or so. We're going to give Zach a chance to discuss the past, the present, and his future of his collecting journey. But before we do that, all right from the start, going to ask him first focus question. These days are kind of like the era of the 2.0. I think I think a lot of people don't like reissues, and a lot of people don't like 2.0s. And just when some people who didn't like reissues kind of getting comfortable with the idea, they start like 2.0ing us. The last 10 announcements from Hot Toys, out of the last 10, 50% have been 2.0s. Instead of focusing on the negative, could you name 3 2.0s that you would actually really want to see?
That's a great question. I'm gonna go old school. I think I wouldn't know if this would be considered a 2.0 because it would have to be a new figure, but Tom Cruise was one of their first ever figures. I think a Maverick Hot Toys of Tom Cruise would be really cool, especially how successful.
You're speaking my language.
Especially how successful the movie was, but I don't think it could ever be done because of all the drama with the Taiwan military patches in the movie. I don't think that would ever happen. I know China, and I don't know if Hong Kong's a part of that, but they were really upset by a lot of that. So I don't think that could ever happen.
Right. Is this the original?
No, the new one. The new one. They had some patches that were China demanded that they edit out or they wouldn't show it.
Right.
And so they didn't. And so I don't think it ever got shown in China.
That's interesting. And what were the patches on? I can't remember. Like,
I think they were on the uniforms. I'll be honest, I don't know exactly, but I was looking into it the other day, and I guess because it was like the big thing, like China doesn't recognize Taiwan as its own like country or nation, and so to have like Taiwan military patches is like a big, offense to, I guess, to China, and that's kind of why when one of our senators went over there, it was like a big deal. Like China was like, absolutely not, and they still went off. But anyways, the next, Damon says, they wanted that flag off.
Before you go on to number 2 there, the funny thing is, like, I don't doubt that that was news to me, but I don't doubt that happened. The interesting thing is as well that the F-14 has been retired, and the only other country that has the F-14 is Iran. So I always thought Iran was the enemy, but they kind of left it so open that they didn't tell us who it was. So it's interesting that there's a few things going on there. But sorry, continue on. You have Top Gun. Great pick.
I would say next, I think it would be really cool. Kyle Reese, which I believe is MMS1. It's been a very long time, but I think that would be a cool figure. I was watching Terminator the other day, and I was like, man, like, it kind of sucks that the only Hot Toys like ever made of Kyle Reese was the first one, and I think they've come such a long way since then. And then there's kind of like some niche movies that Hot Toys has done figures of. Inglourious Bastards. Anytime I see people selling that figure, that's the Aldo Rain in particular. It has a lot of like pleather in it, and they're all completely like just disintegrated. And I remember it was like 5 or 6 years ago, I almost bought one. It was dirt cheap, but I needed to basically replace like about a third of the accessories. I ended up not making the deal with the guy, but Aldo Rain and Glorious Bastards is such a fun movie. I would like to buy that figure. And I think now that like with the Wolverine figure that they've just made with the real leather, I think that would be a chance for them to remake that figure with real leather, better portrait, some neat accessories. So I think those were the three I think that I would like to see. And those are really, really, I'm talking like back like MMS1 type stuff. And I think Tom Cruise was one of their first figures ever that was from a movie. I think they made George Lucas as their first figure. And I think after that it was Tom Cruise. But yeah,
And
I think that's
Tom
what I'd like to see.
Cruise was marketed as just like fighter pilot or something, wasn't it? Because it was
I believe
unlicensed.
so.
Yeah.
I believe
I
so.
would, oh man, if they were to go and make like either an '86 Maverick or even like a current Maverick with it would lend itself so naturally to, I suppose the word is a toyetic or whatever, with the helmet and the goggles and all the different hoses and stuff like that in the flight suit. That's something I don't think I could resist really. Like, so they're three fantastic choices. So right, thank you. We're going to get started with the past. So I mean, you can take this in whatever direction you want. The people are here to listen to you. Maybe just a few, if you would include certain things like, what was the very first hot toy you bought? Where did you get it from? How did you find out about them? Do you still have it? How did you feel about the price? You know, did you think it was a one and done? What were you collecting at the time? Things like that. Like, so you can just take it away. How did you get into this 6 scale hobby?
So I kind of had a false start getting into the hobby. I started with 3 3/4 Star Wars, then Black Series, then quickly moved to 1/6 scale. My first figure was it wasn't a hot toy, it was a sideshow. It was Cad Bane in disguise, and as soon as I bought that, then I bought the Captain Rex sideshow, and then by the time I had both of those, that was the phase 1 at that point. I had just moved into an apartment with my wife, and I was like, man, these are huge. Like, compared to, 3 3/4 and Black Series, it's like, I don't know, man, this is huge. And one of my buddies from a nonprofit that I had ran was moving, and he had a DTOF. So I was like, okay, like, that looks like a cool. I didn't know what, like, that people use them at that point for hot toys or 6 scale. It's kind of like a happy little accident. And I bought it, added the lights, and I was like, I don't know, maybe this isn't for me. So I sold both of those. Like, I never actually had them in the case. Like, I had them boxed up, and I was kind of working on. I'm kind of weird. Like, I like to have things done before I put things in them, and so I never finished the cabinet while I had those figures. And at that point, my wife was like, "Well, I want to get you something for Christmas," and so I was between Hot Toys, Kylo Ren, The Force Awakens, and one of my local collectible shops called Alien Worlds. They had the Sideshow Deluxe Vader, and at the time, the Kylo was like still on pre-order, so it would either be I could come home like that weekend with the Vader, or I could like pre-order and wait a few months for Kylo. I'm not patient at all, so I went with Vader. And it was awesome. Like, I really enjoyed it. It was a cool figure. I didn't really have the lens for Vader that I do now, like, so I just thought it was like the greatest thing ever. And the more I didn't do it, the more I learned it had a lot of problems. But yeah, I enjoyed that figure. I did sell it fairly early into collecting, like within the year, to buy some other figures. But yeah, it was fun. I liked it a lot. I thought the price was, certainly more expensive than, anything really I had bought in the toy section at that point. Like, when I was just starting out, like, I had collected Warhammer, which is a really expensive hobby, which I'm just now getting back into, which is kind of unfortunate. And I had collected other things like Figuarts, those add up too. So the price was expensive, but it wasn't like a shell shocker by any means, because Warhammer can get quite expensive too. So but yeah, it was a great figure. I owned it for, I want to say, a year, and yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
So that was the Sideshow 1/6 scale Deluxe Vader.
Yeah, that's the one with it has like the LED base, and then the helmet has its own display where you could like stagger the different parts of the helmet. It's a cool figure. It was a really cool figure. I really liked it, but kind of the more I looked at it, and then I started looking at the Hot Toys Vaders, and it's like, damn, this is pretty cool. Yeah, so I eventually sold that one to get the Hot Toys Vader. which at that time was the A New Hope, which had its own problems. But yeah, that was an interesting one.
Because it's interesting that I think Mario, if my memory serves me correct, El Profesoro and Costa from Pop Culture Collectibles, when they were on Visions, I'm pretty sure their first 6 scale was the Sideshow Vader as well, which is interesting. It seems to be a lot of people's first Vader. I actually don't own a Vader. I have like a lot of people, that Kenobi one on pre-order, but I still would like to get like an Empire Strikes Back. That Rogue One seems to be the one to get, but your like Vader is, I believe, you don't have just like a straight any particular Vader. Did you get a Vader and you customize it, if I'm listening to you, I believe?
Yeah, so I got real into Vader, like way too deep into Vader. So mine, there's parts that I still would want to change. I'm lazy. But the portrait for the Empire Vader is not great. I would be completely honest. And I think it's because they have this gimmick with the helmet where you could show the back of the head, which I think is fine. But then there is, like, when you pop that helmet, you could take it apart. There is like space for a portrait, and that's why back then a lot of people thought Return of the Jedi was coming pretty soon. But I think in doing that, it kind of ruins the proportions of everything.
This is the Hot Toys Empire Strikes Back one.
Yeah.
So there's a little gap here, isn't there? There's a little gap, like, I think, on the helmet.
Yeah, but there's space for a portrait in there. Because you have like the back of the head, but there's also space in the front. And so the Kyoto helmet is, I think, the best sculpt. And it's a model kit from the 80s, 90s. It's a vinyl model kit, and it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And that's the helmet for my Vader. And then the dome, the Kyoto dome is terrible. The helmet's great, but the dome is terrible. The dome on mine is the Hasbro titanium dome, and it looks beautiful together. And it's actually, Dean had wanted one for years after seeing mine, and I found someone selling the model kit. I guess they tried to build it and they stopped, and they just ruined most of the parts. Got it for dirt cheap, and I picked it up for him, painted it, and he loves that thing. I think it's the best Vader portrait out there. There was a guy who used to make really good Vader helmets. Unfortunately, passed away a few years ago while I was on his waiting list. His name was Hurricane on Sideshow Freaks. He makes the best he made the best helmets. I never got one from him, but I think the Kyoto helmet is it's a good close second. So I think, yeah, mine's a mix of a lot of different parts, and I like it a lot, but it's kind of a pain to handle because there's so many different parts. It's like a custom body. The suit is modified. The boots are modified. The helmet's obviously custom. The gloves are modified to fit with the body. Because the Sideshow bodies are way too big, and the Hot Toys bodies aren't built like the actor that was in the suit, David Prowse. He was a real... I mean, he's the guy that trained... what's his name? The Superman actor.
Christopher Reeves.
Christopher Reeve. He was a bodybuilder. And he helped bulk up Christopher Reeves for that role. So that's how yoked he was. And yeah, he's a titan of a man. But unfortunately, the Hot Toys bodies don't do that physique justice. So yeah, it's all kinds of different parts and repaints and everything. But it's a fun little project. But I haven't touched it in years, to be honest.
It's interesting as well that like your Vader's like a combination of different parts from different figures, whereas Vader in the trilogy is a combination of different inputs from various different actors. You have Dave Prowse in the suit. You've got Sebastian Shaw, who's the actual face of Vader, and then is it David Earl Jones? James I always say David for some reason. James Earl Jones is the kind of iconic voice that I really should be getting right. 16 Shooter Trevor says, I missed that Vader helmet on SSF too. Should have picked up the full leather suit. Someone had it on there too. So it seems to be a popular choice. I'd love to get that quarter scale Vader. I think if I got the quarter scale Vader and then the Kenobi damaged one, I'd be set. I have this. Yeah. Go
I
on.
think that quarter scale Vader helmet is incredible. If I could get that, if I could get that one, I would be really happy, to be honest.
I think that's the one to get at the moment. From what I've seen, I know people go on about the Rogue One, but I know personally after ordering the what am I saying? After ordering the 6 scale Kenobi one, I don't want that to be. I love that, but I don't want it to be my only representation of Vader. I love an original trilogy, so I think that that quarter scale Vader, if it gets a reissue maybe next year, I don't think a lot of people will be happy, but it just seems to be the way things are going. Do you want me to share this?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Cool.
So this is what the Kyoto helmet looks like, and
wow.
Mute that. And I had actually taken the back of the Hot Toys head and then ported it into there, and it looks friggin' awesome. But again, it's a little too small. The Hot Toys is a bit overscaled, so I had to like modify everything. But yeah, it's a good helmet. If you can find that figure for like not crazy expensive, the model kit, the helmet is honestly amazing. It's so good.
And just screen accurate is when you say amazing, is it like that? It's the most screen accurate one to you?
The grill on the chin is a little small, but like the proportions of the face, like the asymmetry, it's bang on. It's incredible, and it was actually, I think, one of my first videos on YouTube was taking that helmet from the raw cast. In fact, let me pull it up. Taking the helmet from the raw cast to a finished product, and with the one that I did, this is actually the one that I have on my Vader currently. So on that one, I did not port in the Hot Toy stuff. But if you could bring up that video, so this was kind of what it looks like. Oh, come on, internet, don't fail me now.
And were you always like artistic and creative, or is this something that was like means to an end? I want this Vader, so therefore I'm gonna have to learn this stuff on the seat of your pants, or did you?
No. Yeah. So my wife, like I said, I played Warhammer, and I couldn't paint like at all, and really, I don't understand what is going on here. I couldn't paint at all, and so my wife would do all the painting for me. And it got to the point where she's like, I don't have time to do this, so I'm gonna teach you how to paint. And I learned pretty well, and I don't know why this video is being so difficult right now, but maybe I could put it in private chat if you might be able to pull that up, because it's actually a pretty fun video. Yeah, she taught me how to paint, and it's gotten to the point where I rarely need assistance painting. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fun. I really enjoy it, and I was able to take a lot of the things that I learned from like painting Warhammer stuff and apply it to 1/6 scale, which is really nice. And okay, here we go. I think we got it working. And
it's playing here on my side anyway. It's just I'm getting through the ads first. Oh, you got it going?
Sorry.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I got it going. Okay, yeah, so this was, I think this was like one of my first. Oh no, I jinxed it. Damn it.
I have it going here.
It's a cursed video. I don't know what's happening.
1 second, I'll share this.
I got like 800 megabits a second on, and it's just a cursed video, I guess. But yeah, it was, yeah, if you just want to skip through towards like the end. Yeah, this was a fun little paint up, and like I said, it was one of my first ever videos on YouTube, and it kind of was one of the things that kicked off the channel. So those are little scale model bolts that made really good tusks for the front of the helmet, because the Kyoto ones were kind of garbage. And yeah, this, like I said, was one of the first videos in 2018, and I was very amateur back then, but I think
it looks good to me.
Yeah, it's a fun little video. So
is this like one first? And is this under Collecting Weekly? It is. Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, one of the first videos back then.
And that's your go-to Vader then in your collection?
For the helmet, yeah, I think it's a really good sculpt, to be honest.
Is there any particular point you want me to go to, or?
No. That was it. Thank you so much.
That's it.
I don't know what happened. I have like great internet, and this video's cursed.
Yeah. And now mine's kind of. Oh, wait, there we go.
See,
I just want to see it again.
YouTube's under attack right now or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's before you obviously you painted a kind of a more white than the back of the head.
Yeah, it's a process, because it all starts out black. So, kind of going through and you know, using some different paints to make him, because he looked real nasty in the movie, so
Oh yeah,
make
yeah.
it look kind of gross looking. And then I messed up there. I should have masked it, but I got a little cocky, so I was like, damn it, and I gotta go back and fix it. Which is fine, but you learn from your mistakes. And that's kind of the point of that Joy of Hobbying thing. That was one of the first videos I ever did outside of the main show, was showing, you know, because a lot of these techniques, this was a little bit more advanced, but some of them are pretty easy. Being able to show people how to do easy things. People freak out sometimes in this hobby, like, oh my god, like, I broke a wrist peg, how do I get this out? And they freak out. And it's really not that bad. It's really not that bad. You could show someone in a minute. Or like, the one thing I see a lot is people will drop their portrait and it'll get a little nick in the hair. And it's like, just go to Walmart, get some black or brown or gold paint, depending on the figure, and just dab it on there and, you know, rub it in and it'll be fine. People
just blend it in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
I think it's one of those things, I suppose, like if you've never done it before, that's why it's I suppose
it's
daunting.
Stressful, but once you fix it, even if you know where it's at, you'll never see it again.
Yeah. I get you. Excellent. So you've kind of, that's how you obviously you said you were collecting 3 3/4 inch before, and you had some Black Series, and so the Sideshow Deluxe Vader was your first. You've since obviously customized your own Vader. What was your first like 1/6 scale hot toy? Can you remember?
Oof. The first 1/6 scale hot toy that I got was the Boba Fett Deluxe by Hot Toys. That was the one with the Sarlacc pit, and it wasn't great, to be honest. It's not a good figure. I got rid of that one.
What gripes did you have? What kind of pushed you to get rid of it?
So the way that the chest armor, it's like, you know, what, 3 or 4 pieces, it's like bolted to the body, so there's like these studs that plug in. Every single one out there, it's all crooked and like not lined up properly, and you can't fix it, right? Like you can't raise it or like refutz it because it's bolted straight to the body, or maybe straight to the undersuit, but there's some sort of bolt connection, and it's very difficult to modify. The body proportions weren't particularly good. I didn't like the sculpt of the helmet. Of course, like when you go on groups like Sideshow Freaks, which I think is named something else now. I don't actually know what it's called now. But when you go in these groups, you're dealing with like the most anal collectors, which is fine because I was one of those people. But they'll take like the portrait of the helmet and like side by side with the helmet in the movie, and then you're like, man, this thing sucks. So Dean and I think he mentioned on his show, but I did the same thing also. He had gotten the Sideshow V2 Boba Fett, and I was like, damn, that's fucking sick. And so I got that same one and then did a lot of modifications to it, and I was really happy. I dyed the flight suit China blue, which is what it's supposed to be. It's not like a gray, actually. Modified, weathered, changed the body. Oh, that figure was awesome. I hated having to sell that one, but yeah, that's that was my first Hot Toys. And then the second one was Farm Boy Luke. That one was bad too, so I sold that one too. But yeah, that one they make it look so good on the box, but in person, like that not a robe, but the tunic that he has, oh, it's such a pain in the ass to futz. The portrait just, it's not good. I wanted to love that figure so much, but man, that was a tough figure to love. They
struggle. They're getting better with Mark Hamill, but they've definitely still. I don't think they've perfected it yet. But they definitely struggle with Mark Hamill. So it sounds like on like the Big Mac back there, like, you know, it looks great on the poster, like it looks perfect, and you get it, and it's like no. But it's interesting because a lot of times these conversations, a lot of the time, not always, a lot of them, they kind of go the same way. You know, my first hot toy was this. I took it out. I was blown away by everything, and I'm totally like that. But it's interesting because someone has an eye for the craft now after, you know, Warhammer and you painting. You can see those, like, you obviously have an eye for detail. Basically, you're kind of picking out things that maybe I'm Vader blind. Like I make notice of little difference here or there, but I don't think I'd be able to tell, I know, a New Hope Vader from Rogue One Vader, you know. Yeah. It's someone to point it out maybe to me. But so I'm gonna see if we can not put you on a little bit of pressure, maybe.
Wow.
Not too much. Oh no. It's actually this is a fun question, but I think Marco wanted me to ask you this. Are you really getting out of 1/6 scale? No, I'm only joking.
Probably.
Let me see. This one, sometimes I feel a bit silly asking people this because like people go kind of look at me and they kind of go, what? So the first question is a two-part question. The second part is the actual interesting one. The first part is like, do you have any 1/6 scale currently on pre-order?
Yes. I think.
So
Oh, I'm sorry.
so go on.
Is that yes? And then I guess is there a two-part?
Yeah, usually people are like looking at me going, "Are you serious?" Of course I do, you know, because like
I think only one though.
Yeah, well, you know that kind of answers the question. Then, if what is the one? What's the pre-order you're most looking forward to? What's the 1/6 scale pre-order you're looking forward to?
The one I'm most looking forward to is the in-art Gandalf. Gandalf is my all-time favorite character of all time ever, and I'm so excited for the in-art Gandalf. In a very small way, maybe very large, John and I from my channel had a part in that figure's creation, because initially they offered it without the Moria staff, and we threw fit and kind of rallied the community behind us, and through the amazing power of public pressure got them to change it. And so I'm looking forward to that. One, because it's my favorite character. Two, because I think it looks excellent. And three, because it has like some sentimental value for the channel. Yeah, I had a lot of figures on pre-order, but like the Miles Morales, it just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and I actually ended up canceling it. It took so long that not that I didn't lose interest, but I had gotten a different figure and a different scale that I thought was perfect, and I felt like I didn't really need the Hot Toys anymore. So yeah, I think I only have one figure on pre-order. Actually, no, that's a lie. There's a company making an Elden Ring Ronnie, I think. I'll be honest, I don't play Elden Ring, but the figure looks super cool, so I was like, fuck it, I'll just pre-order it. And so that was like kind of a spontaneous pre-order. So I think I have two figures on pre-order, actually.
But the Gandalf is obviously the one that you're looking forward to the most, the in-art Gandalf.
Yeah, pretty much, to be honest.
I think the way I've said this before on multiple streams, the way you and John and Collecting Weekly and the community went about it was like impressive. Like, it wasn't just like we're whinging, because like a lot of the, you know, the 6 scale, you know, community, sometimes we whinge from time to time, but you kind of contacted them directly, outlined exactly what should have been included in it, and then went about and had your petition, and then I presume you sent them on that data. Would that be correct?
Yeah, so initially, when John had gone on some of these streams, because John goes on so many streams, which is, I think, is fantastic, and I'm talking about Queen John, Queen Studios John, rather, or InArt John.
Queen John. That's brilliant.
He had said, and maybe I misunderstood what he said, or maybe he misspoke. I still technically don't know what it was, but he said that the licensor approved it, and that the licensor, it was my understanding that he said the licensor was like, there's only one staff. And I'm like, bro. So I sent him privately a bunch of screenshots. I was like, hey, you need to go back to the licensor. These are the screenshots you need. These are other licensed prop replicas from the film. You can get a very clear photo of what's different with these staffs. It's not the same staff with a crystal in it. And I explained the plot points of the movie where this happened, and you know, I was kind of told like, yeah, it's pretty late in the production process, so it's probably not gonna happen. And so at that point, I was like, that's, you know, because InArt kind of came in there with that attitude, like, you know, we're gonna listen to feedback, we're gonna take critique, we want this to be perfect figures, we're not gonna reissue things, and I, you know, kind of asked John if we could start a poll and get some feedback, and we needed to do it quite quickly, so I think we jumped the gun a little bit, but we put it in their group, and, you know, had an overwhelmingly positive response from the community. I think it was like 92% that wanted it to be delayed to get that second staff. There was a lot of issues with that figure, and I don't think they all got fixed, but the staff was a really big one, and I'm glad that it got fixed. But yeah, we brought it to them, and, you know, I think with the proof that we had, the other licensed prop replicas, and I did a video showing the other Gandalfs that were in 1/6 scale, Gandalf the Greys, and my big thing was like, you know, if Sideshow got it right like 10 years ago, and if Asmus, your current biggest competitor for the license, got it right 3 years ago. How are you getting this wrong in 2022?
Mm-hmm.
And so, maybe in some way that helped, but yeah, they, for better or for worse, they delayed it a little bit to get that right. And I think it was for the better, to be honest.
I think it's there is no question. I think if you and John, the collecting week, obviously you and John did a lot of work on it, and if you and John hadn't done that, and anyone else involved, like I don't know who else was involved, but they wouldn't have done it. Like it's that simple.
Yeah.
I think the reason they have that stuff is because of the action that you took and how you went about it. So I think a lot of people in the community, particularly the massive Lord of the Rings fan who are going to order that, are obviously going to be delighted. So I think thanks very much for doing that. The Ben Thomas show is tuned in here. Speaking of my favorite Canadian, wow. How are you? And just want to check in the chat there. We have Mark P saying, "What's up, Zach and Shane? Thank you very much for being here."
Can I answer Moostream's comment?
I was just about to pull that up. Yep.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So he wants to know if I'm going to InArt's Vegas presentation. I am not. It seems cool, but it's a little short notice for me financially to like catch a flight to Vegas, and then even though it's only a 3-hour event, I'd probably need to stay the night in Vegas. And it's the weekend after AUXCon, which is like we're having a bunch of collectors flying out of San Antonio to get together. So it's just real bad timing. And I think it's great that they're doing an event, but I think doing it the week after NYCC is a bit rough for even like other content creators, right? Because if you're flying to New York, staying in New York, and the next weekend having to pay out of pocket to fly to Vegas, which isn't a cheap city.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
if there's one city that could steal your money,
I would love to go. I really would. If money wasn't an option, if they were like, "Hey, we'll fly you out," I'd be there. But on my own dime, unfortunately not. But it's a shame. It's a shame. We have some collectors that live in Vegas, but I think they're all going to be out of town that weekend. So unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get any coverage of that event. But it seems like a good time. I hope everyone has fun. But it's just a little short notice for me to be able to make it.
Good stuff. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing whatever footage comes out of that, because there's definitely a few projects there that I am interested in. So we're going to move on now to the present. So with this this is usually people tend to tell us, roughly how many figures they're at. Roughly, are they just collecting 6 scale? Do they have third party, or are they just dealing efficiently licensed? Do you have any quarter scales? Are you a statue guy? How do you choose to display? Obviously, I can see some details behind. So, like, basically, from where you started back then with that deluxe sideshow Vader. So, where are you now with your collecting? Are you experiencing a bit of burnout, or is that just a joke between you and Marco? Sometimes I can't tell if you're joking or not when I watch.
Burnout, maybe burnout. I don't know. I just get so bored. Hot Toys has been so boring to me lately, and that's like nothing against like them personally. It's just so boring. Like the reissues, the remakes, like the constant Iron Mans, the constant delays. They're announcing like 8 figures a month and releasing 1. It's ridiculous, to be honest. I collect a lot of statues now. I got real into Lego. Lego was really fun. I got into building mocks. So fans will make instructions. You buy the instructions, and they have a part list, and then you build what you get. And that was really fun for a bit. I collect a lot of statues now. Some bigger pieces. I got back into 3 3/4. Started getting into comic books, graded books, mostly Lord of the Rings stuff. And then one of my lovely co-hosts, Ian from OFAC, which you're very familiar with, he's been going on about Warhammer and showing us all his cool Warhammer stuff. And 2 years ago, Kill Team's always been around. It's a game called Kill Team. It's a part of Warhammer. 2 years ago, I was like, man, I really want to play. This looks awesome. Like, you can get started with 10 models. Never got the momentum to do that, but they re-released one of my favorite armies in plastic instead of resin. I hate working with resin. And then they made some better rules for some of the they're called Space Marines, like the main faction. And I was like, you know what, it's probably like $40 worth of models to get a kill team going. I'll go buy a kill team for my wife, buy a kill team for me, and we'll paint them like the old days. I got out of Warhammer because I needed the money. I had 2-3 big armies. My kid was born with a lot of complications, so I had to kind of man up and sell a bunch of stuff. But now that things are a little bit better, we're back into it. In fact, after this, all day we're going to be building our little Warhammer kill team board. And yeah, you know, it's I'm constantly changing things. Like I just got a 3D printer, and I am so excited to be a part of that hobby. I've been wanting to get it for years, get one. And finally, the big thing was I didn't want to have a bunch of alcohol in the house, like rubbing alcohol. One, because during COVID, it was crazy hard to find, and I didn't want to deal with like not being able to finish my figures. But once water washable resin became a thing, I've been printing like a madman. To answer Moose Stream, I do have the Daily Bugle, and it's fantastic. I do not have the Titanic though. But yeah, I got 3D printer, and that's a hobby in itself. Learning how to use the printer. There's some files that you buy and you just plop them on your slicing software and print them, and they print fantastically. Others, it's quite challenging because you get the file and you have to add the little, it's like a little sprues that help it to be able to be printed. And so one of my partners from CW, Mark Pearson, he's wanted some Lord of the Rings stuff printed. So he's like, hey bro, I'll pay for half the printer and your resin if you're willing to spend, the hours in learning how to use this thing. And it's been a really great endeavor, and Mark and I have been printing out some really cool stuff. So yeah, it's a hobby in itself, but to me, that is like the most exciting thing that I've been doing recently is 3D printing.
The 3D printing.
Yeah, and I haven't printed anything 6 scale yet, but if anyone has any cool files, send them to me and I'll see what I can do, because everyone's real secretive with the files and the 6 scale. But if I can find some cool stuff, I think I'll print it, because it's just so fun. It's so fun. It's a challenge for sure, but it's so fun. And
is that something that like had you ever used a 3D printer before buying one? You just kind of said, all right, I'm going to be able to learn how to do this. That's a cool attitude.
What happened was Amazon. Amazon ran a lightning deal, and I was like, damn, this printer that I want is like almost like $150 off. I was like, shit, this is awesome. Sorry, what was the question?
Just the I've seen it once before. I've seen one of them in action before. I used to live in Abu Dhabi, and I was teaching there, and they had this like an engineering room, and one of the kids brought me in, and he 3D printed me a tiny little Stormtrooper keychain. I was like, oh wow. And I had it on my car keys for ages, and then eventually snapped. But he showed me like it printing out and everything. I thought it was amazing. Like, but
yeah.
So you have to find the files, and then the files basically tell the 3D printer what to print. Would that be the gist of it?
Yeah. So let me. I almost want to like show you a file to like so you can understand like what.
Oh, definitely, please do.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to explain. But so a lot of the files that you can find for free, they're usually not supported, and by that I'll pull up an example of a supported print and a not supported print. And what you need to do is kind of figure out like, okay, so I want this thing. How do I print this thing? And you're kind of working against gravity. So let me pull up this here. Let me import that into my slicer, and I will show you what that means. So this guy actually did supply both versions of the file, but I had a lot of issues with his support, so I had to add my own, and that was kind of annoying because you pay for the file and it should just work. But if you look here, I'll bring this window in. And I actually can't see what you're doing. So on the left is like just the model, and you can see it's the same size as the right, but you have to add these little gray things to make it print. So what you would do is you typically rotate it back just a little bit, and then you add these little trees, and you can do it with like an auto-generated program, but then you have to go in and add more because it never adds enough, and then you slice it, and it's a pain in the butt. It really is. But when it works, boy, it's like the best feeling. So that generates those, and then you got to go through and are
they like scaffolding to support the print so it doesn't break, or what?
Yeah, exactly, because it prints upside down, so it looks like this, but really it's printing like this.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, so you have to go through and add extras. So in this case, the one that failed here, this gun kept failing. So I was like, I'm just gonna add a shitload of these little, a bunch of these little gray things to make it so it doesn't fail. And yeah, that worked. So it's a fun little learning thing, and I really enjoy it. But yeah, that's been the coolest thing for me, man. It's been so fun.
I could see why it would be like intriguing or interesting. Just from watching that kid print that tiny little thing once, I was just like, this is amazing. Like, it's just like just the future of printing stuff. Apparently, like, this is something you've actually printed.
Yeah, this is something I printed, and I'm painting it. But this model here, it's not the same as the actual one. It's like 99%. The guy is a very talented sculptor. This was $1 to print for the whole mini. I'm painting it in parts, right? To get the actual model from the company, it's $145 plus tax.
This
was $1 to print and about 6 hours. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely
so the files
ridiculous.
then, like, are they like say, is that just someone who sees that thing for 150 and is like, oh, I can do that on, is it like CAD or
it's like ZBrush or something, like you know how, like in our hobby there's people that make portraits? It's just like that. Like they just digitally sculpt.
Gotcha. Right. And then they
sell because this is absolutely not a scan, right? Like there's people that do that, and I don't love that, to be honest. I haven't printed anything like that. Just want to clarify. This is an original sculpture. It's meant to be like a count as model is what they call it. This saves me 100. The printer itself was about $150. So $150, 30 in resin, and then just $1 of that 30. So about 150, 130. Or I could buy the model for $165.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me, and it is a little difficult. But if anyone gets a printer and has any questions, there's an amazing community out there of people that really want you to be successful, that have gone through all the difficulties that you're going to face, and it's a fun hobby. It to me, it's been more exciting than anything Hot Toys has put out recently. I've been so bored with Hot Toys, and I know I joke with Marco that I'm getting burned out or like getting out of the hobby, but I genuinely I'm genuinely bored lately with 6K. It's just like the same reissue remake stuff.
It's a thing. It's a real thing. Both Brian Fontaine and Chris Leddy, when we had him on separate episode of Visions, they spoke openly about burnout. Particularly Brian, he was just very much spoke about it, and it's definitely a thing. And I think they don't help themselves with the constant Iron Mans or Spider Mans or whatever. Like it's I don't really bother me too much. I kind of just for every 10 there might be one that I'm like really excited about, and that means like
same. Yeah.
I see these Iron Mans and stuff like that because I pretty much have the suits that I want, apart from the Mark III, which is on its way. I tend to kind of go, oh great, I don't have to worry about budgeting for that. You know what I mean? It's like a little celebration. It's like I don't have to worry about that because I'm not into it or I have one or whatever, so but yeah, I can definitely see how that would cause a bit of a kind of boredom. So this one, I got a credit posing with Peter for this. I think he coined this live on his episode of Visions. The Hopo, the 1 hour pre-order. Have you ever been so excited about something? Yeah.
No, I have nothing against Peter, but that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard of. I'm sorry. I love Peter. I love his channel, but that is so like, honestly, and I love Brian and I love Chris, and I always would tell them like, bro, you got to stop with this Dopo stuff. You're like, and I listened to their show a lot, when they were actively producing it. But they would always say like, man, I canceled 3 pre-orders, and I'm like, bro, like that, like you've canceled many Hot Toys of pre-orders, like dollar wise, hundreds of dollars, and you got to really think about these purchases, and you cannot be impulsive at least I can't for my budget. I can't be eating these costs, and it's I'm sorry, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. I would never even the Gandalf that I was really excited about.
In his defense, he described some figure
even
that
the Gandalf that I was really excited about. I waited up
Wait,
until
you
the
were
last
never
day.
gonna you were never gonna
Sorry, 1 second.
you were never gonna order that straight away because it didn't have the staff, in fairness. In fairness to Peter, he said he had what did he ordered something within the first hour of it going up, And then it was actually, I said, all right, so you actually went a step further than Dopo, you Hopoed because you ordered something that crept back. So
and the
it was
thing is,
something
like,
he was really enthusiastic about.
with our hobby, it's different, right? Like with some, and even Mezco's not really like that, but Funko's a good example. Funko, you almost have to like Mopo, like minute one pre-order, like, and it's ravenous. It's ravenous. Like the website crashes. You're
so
in
you're
a queue.
giving out about Hopo, but you've just coined Mopo.
No. But that's the thing, right? With Hot Toys and in art, the 3-day window for Joker was crazy. I was like blown away, and then obviously it didn't really happen. But Hot Toys, like, you have months to pre-order Hot Toys. Like, in reality, they're doing this stupid crap lately with the exclusive accessories. That's so freaking stupid. But in our hobby, there's
wait, Ben's coming up. Ben's coming up. Now you need to slap Ben on Tuesday, I believe.
there's no benefit with Hot Toys, specifically with Hot Toys, to Dopo. People freak out like, oh, the figure's not up yet, I need to make sure I pre-order it so it doesn't sell out. It will never sell out the first day. I've never, ever seen that. Even with, I think maybe Darkseid Anakin went kind of crazy a bit, but I've never really seen a normal Hot Toys just like sell out. It's not like that. When they're putting them up for solicitation, they're trying to figure out how many to make. They haven't made them yet. Obviously lately there's been some of like the Arena Boba Fett went pretty crazy because that was a figure that was basically created already. They had a finite number of those. But generally speaking, for normal figures, Dopoing or Mopoing or Hopoing, don't do it. Don't be an idiot. Don't do it. Now, there are some figures, like, I think Ben collects a lot of Exo 6. I think some of those you have to pre-order quite quickly because they have real short windows. And I think there was one figure, I think it was Burnham. I don't really do Star Trek, but I think they had to... No, it was 6 of 9. They had to shut off or 7 of 9. They had to shut off the pre-order because the bodies were way too expensive and they couldn't sell anymore at that price point. So maybe in that case, but for Hot Toys, I don't really think there's any point to pre-ordering. Hopo, Mopo, Dopo, none of that. Yeah,
I tend to agree with you. I don't know if I've ever, I definitely never ordered one pre-order. I make jokes about Dopo a lot, and I wear a lot of Dopo t-shirts because I like the scavengers and I like the t-shirts. I don't know if I've ever won day one pre-ordered. I definitely have it in the first few days, and again, I think with the Zoe Kravitz Catwoman, I think if they did that, I'd maybe not Dopo, but close enough because I just really want that one, and I want to kind of I do want to support that, but I definitely haven't hopoed, but and Ben is saying, have I taught you nothing?
Maybe Yopo, like year one pre-order, like
year one pre-order.
They're so delayed. There's no point. Like I'm not.
Oh yeah, it's true.
I'm not giving them my money for a year. That's ain't no way.
So just in case anyone in the chat doesn't realize the subtle thing that he's trying to say is just don't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't be it. And people's minds change, right? Like there's no problem, but like, bro, when you're waiting 2 years for a figure, I'm not the same collector that I am 2 months ago. 2 years, I can't even imagine. And the thing is, like, if you're, especially if you're doing it at a mom and pop store, don't be that guy. It's gonna, because the thing is, like with mom and pop stores, they have to order those, they have to pay money for those, and if you cancel, you're leaving them hanging. So pre-order responsibly. Don't be that guy. I
definitely won't be doing it at mom and pops because that's a romantic notion we don't really have over here. There are a few. There are some comic book stores, but I mean, we have like Forbidden Planet, and the markup on that is just, I wouldn't be caught.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad here too. You might find a good store. I think in San Antonio, there's only one store that really prices close to retail, or like right at retail. Other ones, you're looking at $70-$80, right off the rip. And then if it's a real cool figure, even with a pre-order, you're looking at a lot of money. So, yeah. Chewy's Bandolier said, I would Dopo, but only for very specific characters. Yeah, I suppose it's going to get out of control if you have like, if every second thing becomes a Dopo. And then I suppose it does lead to cancellations depending on the type of collector you are. Yeah. Have you canceled stuff in the past? Yeah, I just canceled Miles, but that was from Sideshow. And it was at that point where it was like 2 years late, so they gave me back money. You got your NRD. Yeah. And I canceled like last year, and it was still like 2 years late. So Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't love that, to be honest.
The wait time.
Yeah, I don't like it, to be honest. I do not like it.
Mm-hmm. And you said by nature you're not the most patient person, so it probably
No,
doesn't.
I
It doesn't.
tried my absolute hardest, bro. My absolute hardest, and I just could not deal with how long this crap was taking. It was ridiculous, bro.
And is it a case that you'd be like, okay, I don't want this anymore, or you know what, I might actually still pick this up if I see it down, if it goes bargain bin or whatever, like you see it turn up on
If
Marco's show.
yeah, if that miles goes to like 180, I'll pick one up. I love the movie. I love the character. It just, I'm not waiting with you having my money for like 2 years. It's ridiculous. So
Yeah, there's been like, I think there's been like I could count them on my one hand the amount of times I've cancelled, but they were from Sideshow when just like that. It's been delayed, but it was like I can get this cheaper if I cancel this now. I keep my NRD and I can just get it cheaper over here, and it's worked out maybe 3 or 4 times. Like I said, I can count it on one hand. I tend to once I tend to click that pre-order button, it's one way or another I'm getting that character. It's but then again, I don't. I'm not a completionist or anything like that. So yeah, kind of maybe it's a different type of collector. So the future then, which is kind of often like the difficult one because it's hard to imagine, like you said, you're not the same collector you were 2 years ago. You won't be the same collector you were a year or two. So like just a few kind of warm-up questions. Do you see yourself collecting like in some capacity in 5 years?
I hope so. I think so. Yeah.
What about in like 10 years time?
I hope so. It just depends. It's getting so expensive that I really have to think of like, what I would be collecting at that point. I do hope so, but it's just like figures now, even just 3 years ago were a certain price, and now they're, 50% of that plus 50%. So I don't want to think about how much expensive figures are going to be.
Yeah, nothing's getting cheaper.
Yeah,
sure.
I don't even want to think about how expensive things are going to be. If anything,
Yeah,
I'll have to be more selective of what I'm.
Not necessarily 6 scale, like as in, you just mentioned that you spoke about passionately about the 3D printing. That's still collecting, because you're creating the things you're collecting. So I suppose the next question is like you seem like a collector for life. Like, do you think in some capacity you'd be collecting something in some scale for life?
Definitely, I think so.
Yeah,
and plus, like, there's cheaper figures are getting so freaking, it's ridiculous how good some of these Black Series or vintage figures are, and they're only $20-$30, 15 to $30 depending. So yeah, I think so. I think I could swing that. Like even Black Series, like the Snowspeeder, incredible figure.
And so, what, like, say if you could have like your ideal setup, maybe you have it already, but what would your, like, say if you could design your own room and just like from the ground up, like just import your particular display cabinets, lighting, maybe pedestals if you're into that type of thing, a sound system, whatever, like what would your ideal like display setup look like?
I really like the garage shelves, to be honest. A lot of people don't like them, but I actually really like them. At some point I do want to get rid of these DTOFs and the big cabinet in the back. Actually, I'd like to replace all these cabinets with garage shelves, if I'm being completely honest. My office is really small, so kind of not possible to get my dream setup here, but at some point, if I can run Ethernet to the garage, I like to make the garage like air conditioned and have all that stuff, and then it's obviously much bigger. I'd like to have like a really big TV. Like, I have a big TV in my house, but not in my collection room. I think that would be really cool. I like the way that Marco has his with his television. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if that's actually technically a part of his collecting room, but he always posts pictures of this TV with like figures around it. I think it looks so cool. So that would kind of be where I'd like to be at some point. I'm really happy with my stuff right now. Like, it's all smart controlled. I think my recording setup is right where I want it to be, which is to me the most important part because I stream all the time. But the collection room's pretty, like, I'm enjoying it. Like, I've been trying to get every little inch of space out of this room, so I added some shelves there, and then I've been doing a lot of painting, so I added a paint rack yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Just trying to maximize the space that I have. But no, garage shelves I think are fantastic. I think they're they're really solid. They're a little bit more expensive than they were when I bought them a year ago, but yeah, I think I'd like to do more garage shelves. Just because when I stream, there's so much glare in the background. I really hate it, and if I turn the lights down, I don't know. It doesn't really.
Yeah, I get you.
I hate it.
And the LEDs you have there, like, they're obviously not. You can't control the
I can
light
control
brightness.
it, but
oh, can you?
Yeah, then it gets a bit weird. I don't know. That's the one part that I don't like about my setup right now.
Everyone is like has their own way they like things, and it's all kind of like probably like things that you might say like something that
it
I don't like this, and everyone else looking
person, but the camera doesn't do it justice.
Yeah,
it's a pain in the butt thing.
The Ben Thomas, a big fan of those Philips Hues. I really like watching.
Ben.
Yeah, he's got the case in the back, and then they're almost kind of like backlit with all the different colors.
Yeah.
It's quite nice.
That. Looks cool.
Yeah, it does, and he has the he's another guy with a TV. I think Ben has a TV in his collection room as well.
It's a good.
Kind of like that idea because it's multifunctional then as well.
Yeah, I like it.
But I'm gonna move on to the last question. And I'm very conscious now. I know you're a man for levels, and I'm just really conscious that that the sound is obnoxiously loud. So I do apologize. You're going to scold me now in a minute.
It's okay. I turned my headset down earlier.
Yeah, fair enough. You learned after the first one. So basically, I like to finish off all these streams with what are your 3 fire figures? So God forbid your house is on fire and your family are all safe, and you can only grab 3 1/6 scales. What are the 3 that are coming with you? Well, you can.
I'll do 1/6 scale because that's more realistic. That is a great question, my friend. I don't know if I have 3 1/6 scale figures that I'd really care if they burned. Definitely like Gandalf. I know John doesn't like it, but I actually really enjoy that figure.
Is that Star Ace or no? It's not Star Ace. Is it the Gandalf one?
Probably. Okay, I got you. I'm sorry. What was the question? Star Ace.
Which Gandalf was that? Is it Asmus?
Oh, the Asmus. Yeah, the Asmus.
Asmus. Sorry.
And then the Metacom Rocketeer, because that figure is a banger, and probably my Vader. I think my Vader.
The custom one. Seeing as you put the hours into it, you definitely should come with you.
Yeah, there you go.
Excellent. So obviously, thanks very much for agreeing to come on, and
no
I understand you're busy. So what's coming up on your channel? What's coming up with you?
Let's see. We got unboxing tomorrow, CW Tuesday, After Dark Wednesday, OFAC Thursday. Yes, OFAC Thursday, and Friday Club. We just started Pose Wars back up, which is kind of fun. I think our next show is going to be October 1st, and we'll be back to 1/6 scale. We also, we've been playing D&D. That's been really fun. We're kind of on a little bit of a hiatus. One of our players is a pilot for the Air Force,
right?
And he's a very busy boy. And then not only that, but we all have different things. So we're supposed to have a game last night, which is supposed to be a crazy dragon fight, but that's been delayed basically indefinitely until we can figure out a time. It's a stream that we can't rush, and also it's a homebrew monster, and Cody wasn't happy with some of the balancing, so it's real nerdy stuff. But I also really want to get a Warhammer stream going with Ian at some point, because I think that would be really fun. So maybe we'll get that going. AUXCon's in October, so if you're in Texas, San Antonio, you want to come by, send me a message. Would love to have you. We'll be doing some in-person streams with Marco and Mark and Sweet Danny Lee. CW, we just kind of keep going on. We're not like crazy, like making crazy viral reviews and stuff like that. We just do talk shows and have fun and roast each other. And
I've noticed the roasting. I'm a fan of the roasting.
Slow and steady, right? Slow and steady. So, yeah. If you like, and the great thing about our stuff is, if you listen to podcasts, because apparently some people don't know this, we are on every podcast platform, most of our shows. So, at least the ones that you can get a lot of enjoyment from by listening. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, like anywhere that you can hear podcasts, our stuff is on there. And we spend a lot of money on audio and editing and stuff like that, so it should sound pretty decent if you get a chance to listen. And we try our best to like describe everything that we're looking at on the screens for you guys. And yeah, it's good stuff. That way you don't have to have your YouTube open all day.
That's a fair point. So it's kind of podcast audio friendly as well. But then you would miss out on like gems like Little John.
Oh,
because that was a gem. Because
a gem.
I was in the gym, and a lot of time I listen to stuff. I just listen to stuff when I'm training, and then sometimes I'm like, I heard your reaction to this video. I was like, I have to see this. I was like, yeah, just really so young.
Definitely. There are times I think it's good, but like if you're driving, commuting to work like an hour or 30 minutes, whatever, like if you just want to put something on and
it's ideal. It's ideal.
Battery. It's good stuff.
Yeah. It's ideal. Zach, thank you very much. There's 30 people in the chat, folks. If on the off chance you haven't checked out Collecting Weekly, I highly doubt anyone has actually not subscribed, but if you haven't, follow Collecting Weekly on YouTube and follow at Collecting Weekly on Instagram. Massive thank you to Zach for taking the time to do this. Really do appreciate it. That's definitely appreciate it. So just on my own channel here, I haven't anything scheduled at the moment, but I have a few more episodes of Visions. I reached out to Ian and Pete from OFAC, and we're trying to lock in some dates for episode of Visions there for similar to this, but just with a different member of the Collecting Weekly I suppose team or network. So thank you very much to everyone in the chat who's taken the time to tune in today or engage the chat. Very much appreciated. If you haven't done so already, click the subscribe button, and pretty sure that is us done and dusted. So see you folks. Thank you very much.